Hi guys, this is an Elliott Wave tutorial looking at impulsive waves. This will be part 1 for part 4 series looking at Elliott Wave and how we can use this form of analysis to analyze, trade and invest in the stock market. If you would like to know more, you can check out the Financial Freedom Masterclass. So, what is an impulse wave? Well, there's only really 3 rules to an impulsive wave. Number 1, it has to break down in fives as we see here. So you can move over to the left hand side of trading view here, patterns 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What are these 3 rules? Rule number 1. Wave 3 cannot be the shortest wave out of the 5 waves. It doesn't have to be the longest, it just can't be the shortest. And as you can see here, wave 3 is clearly longer than wave 1 as an absolute minimum. Wave 4 is not able to overlap into wave 1 territory. So if you mark out the high of wave 1, wave 4 is not allowed to go into the territory of wave 1 going into wave 2 basically. So it's not able to break below the high of the wave 1 peak. And the last rule is that wave 2 is not able to pull back or to retrace more than 100% of wave 1, i.e. it's not able to break the low of the start of the Elliott wave. And those are really the only 3 rules that we need to know for a standard textbook impulsive wave. Later on within this 4-part module, we will be looking at ending diagonals and leading diagonals. Now, after an impulsive wave of 5 legs, we basically get some form of correction, which once again will be the next module that we discuss. Some form of 3-wave correction. It could also be more than 3 waves, but for the sake of complicity, we call it a correction or a 3-wave correction. Could be a zigzag, could be a flat pattern, could be a WXY pattern. It could also be more complex, like an ABCDE triangle. However way you cut it, after some leg of impulsive nature, we are bound to get a correction. Markets tend to correct 80% of the time, and they tend to be impulsing 20% of the time. So for every 5 days in the stock market, 4 out of 5 of those days, you're dealing with some form of a correction. Understanding corrections is a key way to understand how the financial markets really work. The areas of consolidation and the range-bound markets, those are 4 out of 5 days. Only 1 out of the 5 days will it impulse. So this is the basic impulsive motive wave that we see here. 5 waves followed by some degree of correction, followed by another 5 waves, followed by another 3-wave correction. Elliott wave, in its most simplest form, is fractal in nature. It is occurring on all time frames, on all asset classes at the same time effectively. And wave 5s going into wave 3s, wave 5s going into some form of correction. These are all forming part of a much larger wave 1 or a wave 2 or a wave 3, 4 or 5. Everything is fractal in nature. This 5-wave impulse that you see here itself is broken down into 5 waves. We're just going to make this blue just for the sake of complicity. We're going to lower that degree, and that is also the case with the wave 1 and the wave 3. And this gives us the fractal nature of Elliott wave. Waves 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. 1, 3 and 5 are themselves impulsive. Waves 2 and waves 4 are corrective in nature. Often it is the case wave 2 tends to be quite deep and quite short in terms of time. Wave 4 tends to be quite shallow, i.e. shallow relative to the retracement or the pullback from waves 2 to wave 4, and tends to be longer in terms of time. So the Elliott wave often will look something like this. Everything is fractal in nature. 1, 3 and 5 are impulsive, 2 and 4 are corrective, and as a whole, that forms a larger degree, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Of course, that will in itself form a larger wave 1 and a larger wave 2. And then we can continue this process on and on. I have no doubt in my 13 years of looking at the stock market since the lows in 2009, There is no better way to analyze the longer term count and from a swing trading perspective, any medium or long term count other than Elliott Wave. It allows us to project both time and price and give us an understanding of where the opportunities lie. There is nothing better as far as I'm concerned. Shorter term time frame, there's more price action, trading between levels, and that's absolutely fine, but there's a lot of noise on the day trading scene. You're very much dependent on what participants are doing. There's a lot of people who are trapped short and trapped long. You can get liquidations and short squeezes. On the longer term time frame, however, those minor bits of noise on the day trading time frame effectively get ironed out. And there's no better way to look at the long-term path of any market other than Elliott Wave. Really allows us to stay months and months and years at times in front of everyone else. So, what else do we know about impulses? Well, let's just remove the internal waves out for 1 second. Let's just discuss the psychology for 1 second. So, we have to imagine going into the start of this impulse, there was some kind of panic crash, some kind of fear that was driven a lot by the media, by panic selling. Perhaps there were longs who were also getting liquidated. We have to always start the Elliott Wave count from an SB, a significant bottom. And this could be anything. This could be any kind of panic crash low, any kind of asset class. Out of that comes the wave one. Often it is iterated by market participants. This is a sucker's rally. This is a fake rally. We're going to eventually come back down again and retest the lows. Following the wave one move, we then get a wave two pullback, and this is really the second fear test. So if you can imagine the first, this is fear number 2. So the first fear test was the actual drastic move down prior to the market actually bottoming. In wave 2, we get the usual, right, that's it, it's all over, we're going to retest the lows. Wave 1 was just a bear flag, we're going to come all the way down. A lot of shorts will pile on into here and they will try their best to push this market down. However, given the rules of Elliott Wave, this wave 2 will never actually take out this low. We will be going through Fibonacci in a later module, but often is the case, this wave 2 will retrace somewhere between 50 and 61.8% the Fibonacci vertical distance from the start to the top of the wave 1. Wave 2 is a great place to enter into the long trade. The news, as you would imagine, is very bearish. At times, the news is even more bearish in the wave 2 low than it is in the low preceding the actual bottom. This is a really big trap, this wave 2 low. The fear is very high. The news is very high. In terms of being bearish, the sentiment is very high. That all leads people to take too many short positions for their own good. Then suddenly up out of here, we get another 1-2 sequence, which essentially, as we have said, is the lower degree. We get a 1-2 and then we start the very nice vertical wave 3. All the shorts have to rush to cover their positions, and then momentum traders from institutions and algos will jump on to make a near vertical wave 3. It is often the case the wave 3 off the wave 3 is the most vertical in nature. If you were to have a look at this wave 3, often it has the best volume, the highest volume, the best RSI and momentum indicators out of the MACD, the money flow index and the on-balance volume. It's very often the case when you're looking at the best part of any indicator or the volume, you're usually in some kind of vicious impulse, either to the upside or to the downside. If this was a downside impulse, it would be the exact opposite. The highest volume to the downside, the highest red bar volume, would essentially be the wave 3 off the wave 3 down. So, smart money have entered this market have entered this market somewhere near the lows around here, between 0 to 1. They've entered here because they're smart money. Institutional money usually enters around the bottom of the wave 2 into another 1, 2, and in the initial stages of the wave 3, and they want to ride the bulk of the wave 3. They're not really interested in catching the lows or the highs. They really want to take part in the vertical nature of the wave 3. After the wave 3 is over, bear in mind the fundamentals here seemingly out of nowhere, although if you understand the game at hand here, it really isn't out of nowhere. The fundamentals seem to perk up. Everyone is now bullish again. There are no longer any more shorts to be squeezed, and everyone is now effectively comfortably long. The media also, seemingly out of nowhere, become very, very bullish. Why? Because it's in everyone's best interest to be bullish because everyone is long. After the wave 3 is over, I have always considered any wave 4 to be some degree of profit taking. That is the mentality that you need to have when you believe you're looking at a wave 4. Often, if a wave 2 takes the shape of a zigzag, wave 4 may very well be a triangle, may also be a flat. It can be quite shallow, and it can also take slightly longer than the wave 2. We do have this law, or this idea, that there's alternation between the wave 2 and the wave 4. There is also equality too, not to contradict myself. So whilst 2 and 4 could very well be the same in terms of time, there's often some degree of alternation. If wave 2 is very deep, wave 2 will be very shallow. If wave 2 is a zigzag correction, which we'll go into in the next module, wave 4 might very well be a triangle. If wave 2 is very simple, wave 4 will be very complex. So there is this degree of alternation between 2 and 4, but also there is equality which can be seen in terms of time. So we have to understand there is equality some of the time and there is alternation too. Equality can also be seen in the logarithmic vertical distance of wave 1 and wave 5, both in terms of time and in terms of price. And once again, we will be covering how do you actually project your targets in later videos. So, smart money are in. We've had the wave 1. Everyone thinks it's a failed rally. It's just a bear flag. It's going to come back down again. Then we get another fear too, higher than the fear that actually preceded the entire move itself. Then everyone jumps on. Institutions, smart money are already in. Maybe people who have taken the Financial Freedom Masterclass have also jumped in here looking for that wave 3. So very, very savvy retail traders would also have jumped on. But the bulk of retail would probably be approaching this market around the end of the wave 3. Usually they're duped in by very bullish headlines. So if you think about it, if you jump into this market right before the end of the wave 3, you're just going to get chopped around in a wave 4, because that is essentially what's going to happen next. The wave 4, understand it to be some degree of profit taking. Always understand that, either to the downside or the upside. So if I was to just to do a very simple bearish example of this, understand people who are short at the top, they are probably covering their positions around the wave 4. Once again, just the opposite of profit taking. Rather than taking profit on a long, you're taking profit on a short. Then you have the final capitulation. Then you get the counter wave rally. So it's the exact opposite for a downtrend. We've had the wave 4. Now we're going to go into the last part of the impulse, which is the wave 5. So while some retail traders would have jumped into 3, they probably got shaken out in 4. They are now going to FOMO back in to this trend into the wave 5, and ultimately they are then going to get swept off their feet and panic capitulate because a nasty 3-wave correction is going to precede that. It is important to note in Bitcoin, altcoins, commodities, often you get an extended wave 5, something like this. Note, we are not invalidating rule number 1. We're just saying wave 3 can't be the shortest. It doesn't have to be the longest. Here, wave 5 is the longest. So whenever you're looking at oil, which at time of doing video has just peaked below $120, and very much looks like a parabolic extended wave 5. Could oil be in a ABC correction? Well, that remains to be seen. Let's have a look. Commodities very typically make an extended wave 5, and this is unfortunately where a lot of retail traders have jumped into this market, usually led by certain news headlines. The smart money are slowly offloading to retail in wave 4. Institutions who are not interested in the wave 5 or the bottom of wave 1, they're only interested in the bulk of the wave 3. They've also offloaded their positions, and as this market goes higher, it tends to form some divergence. Any indicator is probably going to diverge. So you can have a look at the relative strength index between wave 3 and wave 5, and certainly the inner markings of 1, 3 and 5. Often is the case, the indicator will go from overbought into the shaded area and do this, and that is often the case. That gives us a good understanding of, you know what, we're getting towards the end of this trend. We have to be very careful here. We're going to be in for some kind of pullback. Volume also, unless of course it's a blow off top wave 5, can often be quite low towards the wave 5. And why is that? Because the big volume has come in wave 3 through the institutions and the smart money, potentially in wave 1. In wave 5, retail don't have a lot of volume. They don't have a lot of cash compared to institutions and smart money. Volume can often be quite low as well. Then we essentially complete the 5, and then we go into a large correction. And of course, at the end of this correction, the cycle then repeats itself, and then basically we go on and on and on throughout history and into the future and beyond. We basically continue this cycle, 5 followed by 3 followed by 5. Okay, let's now bring it back. So that is the end of the first module. Hopefully you guys found that interesting. Stay tuned for module number 2, where we will be discussing all forms of Elliott Wave correction, and I'll see you guys on the next module.